LiveGood CBD oil is a full spectrum tincture. So what does full spectrum mean? Full spectrum is the first step from a crude, like a raw crude hemp oil. So full spectrum is the least refined. So what does that mean? Why is that so beneficial? Well, it means that you're not going through a further refinement process, which is good. And the next step would be broad spectrum, and then they go all the way down to an isolate, which is basically just pure CBD. Now, something to keep in mind as we're going through this, CBD itself actually does not interact with those receptors that we talked about. All of the other things do, and they create what's called an entourage effect. So we're going to learn about that now. So full spectrum has the flavonoids, which are basically like antioxidants in the plant. You have the terpenes, which are what gives you the flavor and the aroma. They're organic hydrocarbons that are part of the essential oil of the plant. Like an easy example would be like the rind of a citrus, like something like a lemon. Like if you kind of zested off that rind and smell and the aroma that you get, that's kind of the essential oil. Those are the terpenes that are flaring out. So when you smell and you taste the terpenes, your body already starts to sort of respond to it. Terpenes are powerful stuff. It's a big part of what has been studied. And if you guys want to really get into the weeds on this, Google some of the terpenes and learn about them. They're incredible. So having those in the full spectrum, they are not in the broad spectrum for the most part, but terpenes, flavonoids, and of course you have the cannabidiol, which is CBD, cannabidiol. And then you have some of the other minor cannabinoids. So like you'll see CBC, CBG, CBN, there's the CBD acids that somebody was just asking about. Now they'll vary quite a bit based on the plant, based on the cultivation and the harvesting and all that. But that is, in essence, the benefit of full spectrum. Now, with that said, you are going to have some THC. THC, of course, is the psychoactive part of the plant that can cause people to get high. And legal requirement is up to 0.3% THC. So that potentially could fail you on a drug test. We need to make sure people are aware of that. For people that undergo routine drug screening, it's important to know that full spectrum may contain up to 0.3% THC and potentially could cause a negative or a positive drug screen result. I mean, that's unfortunate, but that's the truth. If you actually look at the certificate of analysis, though, like some of the ones we were looking at, you'll see that the actual THC concentration, and this is a very good thing, is so low that it's not even detectable. And that's at the bottom of our website. If you want to review the certificates of analysis. Yeah, the certificate of analysis is really an important piece there. So you'll know how much THC is in your product. And if it's lower than detectable limits, you will, I can't say definitively, but you're unlikely to test positive on a drug screen at that point. I mean, it's still stretch at 0.3, but the caution flag has to go out there. Yeah, it's always just like err on the side of caution. For sure. Something, if you're in the law enforcement and you're routinely drug tested, I mean, please. Yeah. We'll be responsible for that. Yeah. But that's, I mean, the terpenes are really what drives the train. I know the miners do in the CBD, and it's the entourage effect. The entourage effect is considered what synergistic. So the sum is greater than the whole. The sum is greater than the whole of the parts. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. I think that's synergistic. So, but that's really what it is. I mean, the whole idea of this entourage effect is that it kind of it sets up the mesh network to really be optimized for homeostasis. Yeah. That's all the goal. Oh yeah, that's absolutely the goal. So let's talk about strength. Let's talk about dosing. Okay. We'll talk about side effects. Right. So we do have two flavors. So this is our peppermint. Both come in 750. Both come in 750 and 1500. The light's killing it. Yeah. And then we also have the natural flavor. Same thing. 750, 1500. Yeah. Peppermint flavor obviously tastes like peppermint, and the natural flavor, it's not unflavored. It really just tastes natural. Like natural. Yeah. You can just taste it, but it's nothing like that has a significant flavor. Like I said, 750 and 1500. Why do we have two different doses? When somebody is just starting out off with a CBD, we always recommend just starting low. Start with the 750, work your way up. The dosing is 1 dropper full. So when you do open it up, you will see there's little markers. So 1 milliliter is 1 dropper full. And sometimes you have to give it a few extra squeezes to get it up to the 1 milliliter. But that is the dose. So I always say start with the 750 if this is your first time using it, and then increase as needed.
because it can be used multiple times a day. Is there an upper limit?
No, there's really not. However, CBD can be considered biphasic, which means you could potentially get a different response at low dose as you would at a high dose, not just an amplified dose of what you got at low dose, something very different.
Okay.
So yeah, you're right on the money though. You start with the 750. So that means 750 milligrams in the whole bottle. And there's 30 milliliters in that bottle. That's 1 ounce. That is 25 milligrams per ml. All right. And there's 30 mLs. So that's your 750 milligrams. Start low, go slow. If you don't know what your dose is, you start low. You can even do a half a dropper full of the 750, and you go slow. You titrate up, and you can kind of find a sweet spot. It is a daily dosing. It's recommended as a daily dosing regimen because again, you're trying to balance and create and optimize that mesh network. And yeah, I think a bedtime dosing is probably ideal just to start with, or at least later in the day or a time when you're not really expected to do much because somnolence or sleepiness could set in.
Especially if you're new to it. CBD.
Yeah, sure. And then the 1500 milligrams is just really twice the concentration. So it's 1,500 milligrams per bottle. That makes it 50 milligrams per milliliter. Obviously a bit greater bang for the buck. But from a dose titration perspective, you probably would be better suited to start on the low end of 750 and work your way up.
Right. And I always recommend holding it under your tongue for 30 seconds before swallowing. That really helps maximize the absorption.
Yes.
And then quicker as well. So it's like before bed, 30 minutes before bed, just hold it 30 seconds under your tongue.
Yes. Talk about the carrier.
Carrier oil?
Yeah, the MCT.
MCT. We use MCT oil as our carrier oil that is coconut based. Definitely also had that question
Yep,
a handful of times. Yes.